That's good. Okay. Hi, Eileen, and hi, Yvonne. I'm Bonnie. I reached out to Yvonne last week asking about this program. I'm currently working in the UCSD health system as a bioinformatics programmer in the psychiatry department, and got a bachelor's in statistics in 2019. So I'm now kind of considering um, graduate programs to maybe one day either continue in academia as a staff scientist or maybe hopefully like get some experience in industry. And so as I'm looking at some job postings, I'm seeing that they're requiring kind of masters in statistics or just like higher level like masters um, degrees. And so I read that this program is kind of a sister degree based on its brochure. So I didn't really know kind of what that exactly meant. Do people like in this program generally have a different background strictly for like engineering majors or like have master's programs in addition to this one? So just kind of understanding kind of the practicalities of getting this degree and then how students from this program generally apply their skills for career change.
No, actually, career change is exactly what the program is designed for. It typically applies to applicants who have already had a minimum of 2 years of experience in industry. So maybe in that sense, sister, because they already had a degree prior to that, it doesn't. There is no requirement of a previous graduate degree in any way. The requirements have to do with your background, whether established through your formal education or through your experience at work. They tend to cover a bunch of areas, and we fully understand that it is unlikely that somebody has acquired background in all of these. And if they do, then they basically don't need us. So these areas include statistics. This is great, actually. What you have there is actually maybe the hardest part to learn on your own. So in that sense, you already have a leg up. The other areas are programming. So having programming in some general purpose programming language a la Python, which is very fashionable today, but doesn't have to be Python, can be something equivalent, can be Java, can be C++, something else. What matters is exposure to the principles of programming, so that if needed, one can then just switch to another language by learning the syntax. We certainly help people learn Python in this program. Then there is, of course, every data scientist spends a lot of time massaging large quantities of data, moving them around, querying them, extracting them from data stores. So the third area that where background is a plus is data management. Speak relational databases, SQL, but not only. Then oftentimes the information that you want to run your analytic tasks over, it doesn't reside in a single centralized place. You typically have to pull it from multiple sources that are distributed over the web. They may be residing distributed over multiple machines because they're so large. So another plus in this field is exposure to parallel distributed data management and computation. What else? Once you have gotten the data and massaged it to a place where you can finally start drawing conclusions from it, you will run a bunch of machine learning techniques and algorithms to learn something from this data. And this is yet another one of the sub areas of background that we're interested in. And finally, you're done, and now you have to visualize the data. You have to show it to a consumer who is not a programmer. So data visualization is yet another area of expertise. We cover all of them in the program. We teach them each of them without assumptions of previous knowledge. It's just that if somebody doesn't have a minimum of, let's say, 3 out of these 5 that I've mentioned, then they will have to learn too much from scratch, and it will be a little bit too intense. But it doesn't really matter which of the areas you feel comfortable with and which you have not been exposed to. We will bring you up to speed in all of them.
Could you say a little more on the data visualization? I think that in the job postings I've seen, a lot of them kind of ask for dashboards on like Tableau,
Right.
or BI, and so yeah, what kinds
Right.
of
So,
visualizations are you thinking?
well, so there's a plethora of business intelligence tools out there,
Yeah.
and you've just mentioned on Power BI, Tableau, there's dashboards. Those are certainly tools that you're going to encounter in the program. But let me point out that the program is targeted towards future-proofing your career, so that it doesn't necessarily depend on the tool of the day. If we were just to teach the tool of the day, we would be a vocational school. What we're trying to do is extract the main principles underlying visualization in general. And this is true also for all the other areas, machine learning and statistics and so on, so that you can then apply them to any tool that you need. You can just pick it up by reading the documentation.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, yes, you will be exposed certainly to Tableau, to Power BI. You will have your Jupyter notebook displays of information in various homework assignments. But more importantly, we want you to understand the foundation, so that the tool that will be fashionable in 2 years, and which likely isn't going to be whatever we're looking at now, will be easily picked up.
Mm-hmm. 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 Okay. And so then I think that I can't remember in this program, it's you finished a capstone project, right? So what is the
Yes.
structure of this capstone? Yeah.
So the capstone project is the opportunity to put together all the skills that you have acquired through all these different courses into an end-to-end project. The structure is that you will be teaming up, because teamwork and the ability to both software engineer and just modularize tasks in order to split them up among members of a team are important skills of a data scientist nowadays. So you'll be split up into teams. You will receive some large data sets, and you will be tasked with an end-to-end solution that pulls these data sets into the tools you want to apply, performs the analytics, the learning from them, and presents the results.
Mm-hmm.
There will be a written report, there will be a presentation, and the capstone project will start early, so that you have time to surmount all the obstacles, technical and otherwise, that you might encounter. For example, getting access to the latest version of the data, cleaning it up, because data is never clean, and you can't just run your tools over it. First, you have to write your scripts to fix it, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
You will each team will be paired with a faculty advisor who will mentor them throughout the project. And the data sets themselves and domain will vary wildly from team to team. So every team does their own project. It's not going to be the same project per team. And we've had, this is actually not my forte here because I've never been involved with one. I have listened to presentations in the past. My co-director Hilkay Altintas is actually running the capstone project part. I'm not sure whether she's with us right now. I don't
No,
see
she's
her
not
on the
here
list.
right now.
No. Okay. But teams have worked on data as varied as Walmart transactions to learn how to best market milk cartons, to California wildfire data to understand better the the fire hazards in the state, to I think there was also some work on biotech data. You know, San Diego is a biotech hub.
Okay. I just realized that there were a lot more people who joined the room since I've joined, so I want to give a chance to others who also like are raising their hands to ask you questions. But
I see
I can go
Eva.
on. Yeah.
Eva has raised her hand here.
Yes, sorry, really quick. I just posted a link to our library, our UCSD library, where the capstone projects are actually posted.
Oh,
You
wonderful.
can definitely click on that and look at the past ones. I think right now 2019 graduates, their capstone projects are posted. So you can kind of see examples of the capstones. And yes, we'll move on to the next person.
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much. That's a great resource.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Yes, hello. I'm not Eva. I think it's a Zoom account of my daughter for some reason.
Huh.
Sorry about that. Yeah, my question is, it may be a little bit similar to Bonnie's question. So my major of bachelor is economics, but I work all my life in IT as a quality assurance automation engineer. And right now I work in analytics team in solar turbines. So basically I work with all the tools that our data scientists work, like Python, Pandas, Jupyter Lab, SQL, but I don't really have experience in analytics using these tools. And when I saw the questions in the application about specific data science questions, for example, advanced concepts of probability statistics and significant analytical tasks in my work, I don't really have this experience. So would you recommend me to still apply and answer these questions honestly, that I don't have this experience?
You should, all of you, definitely answer honestly. It
Yeah.
allows us to understand a little bit the cohort we're getting. None of the candidates have ever been disqualified by saying I have no experience in this subtopic. Okay, it's a matter of gleaning enough across the subtopics so we feel you don't start really from scratch. So you're already mentioning serious exposure to programming from work. You have mentioned SQL. This immediately gives you exposure in two, the programming and the database management area. The business domain exposure that you have applied all of this in some particular domain at your work. That is also of interest to us, and that is a plus. So try to describe it.
Okay, thank you.
And there is no clear mold that we're expecting here for the data scientists. We get people with domain experience in biology. We have people with domain experience in economics, as you mentioned here, or in engineering. Some of them come from Qualcomm. It's very, very diverse, and that's the whole point of data science. So don't be intimidated by it. Just Write what you have done. And
Okay.
also, it doesn't matter whether this experience comes from coursework. Coursework may be far in your past. It's fine if it was acquired on the job. So it's basically independent of your actual degree, formal degree.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Any other questions? Don't be shy and don't feel the need to raise your hand. If there is a lull, just speak up.
Hello, my name's Robert.
Hi.
I have some admission and financing questions. Are those all right?
Of course,
Mhm.
all questions are all right.
So,
Yvonne will help
I'll
you
try
much
to
more than
answer,
me.
yes, at the best
uh,
of my ability.
Yes, well, I sent off, well, first of all, I guess I sent off my application just as early consideration deadline closed out. What I'm wondering is, is there like a specific window in which we could expect a response so that if I need to make any changes for the deadline that comes in exactly 1 month, I could get on that as soon as possible?
So all the applications that we received by the early consideration review deadline are currently still under review right now. We typically ask for about 4 to 6 weeks before we provide feedback. So I think we're in like the 5th week now. We're hoping in the next week or so we'll be able to email you guys feedback for the early consideration deadline people. And then of course our final deadline is July 7th. And then official decisions will be submitted and sent out to applicants 4 to 6 weeks from that deadline.
Okay, thank you. I guess the next question I have is that my company, I work for Northrop Grumman.
Mhm.
We have an educational assistance program.
Yes.
I don't know the exact specifics, but do you know if it's applicable to MAS?
Yeah, so we have had Northrop Grumman applicants and students in our program who have utilized their educational reimbursement or tuition payment. I believe you guys work through like EdAssist to get V cards to pay for tuition each quarter. So yeah, we definitely have experience working with Northrop Grumman students. So yeah, we would definitely work with you each quarter to make sure that you're utilizing your payment plan through your employer.
All right, that's I guess that those are the most pertinent questions I have on hand. So thank you very much for that, for your reply. Makes me much more comfortable with my guess prospects is not the word I want to use, but
More,
I guess get the idea that I'm on that things
Yes.
are on track.
yes, it's on track.
That does remind me of another question about with regard to finances. I know that UCSD like has a program for its staff to pay for some courses, but I don't know if that relates to MAS or if it's okay. You're shaking your head. Got it.
No, unfortunately, the MAS programs are self-supported, so we don't really get funding from the university to allow for, in order to be able to provide that discount to employees. So because of the fact that we're a self-supported program, unfortunately, the UCSD discount doesn't apply.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying that. I was trying to figure that out on my own. I was
Yeah.
leaning toward no, but good to hear a solid no.
Yeah, but I mean, we do have students who apply for financial aid. You know, as I believe a UCSD grad student, you're still able to apply for financial aid And I know some of our students do have that. A lot of, like I was talking with Robert about it, a lot of our students do get sponsored by their employer. So we do have a lot of students who do that, but we do have some students who use like their GI Bill, the 529 plan, and then some who apply for financial aid and get that applied to their tuition.
Okay, got it. I'll look into that then. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions out there?
Yvonne, sorry, another question about the library resource that you provided. I was just looking through it and wasn't sure, one, how old this MAS program is, and then two, like how many or how much of this collection, how far back this collection goes.
So we're on the cohort 6 just did their capstone presentation. So they're the ones graduating. So at least 6 years. I can't remember the exact year that the DSE program started, but at least 6 years so far, because we just completed cohort 6's capstones. I believe they only post the previous years. So that collection is 2019 graduates, so cohort 5's capstones. And then right now they're collecting all the capstones from the most recent graduates. And then they'll be posting those and replacing the 2019. So it doesn't archive far back that I could see. I think it's just the most previous year that had completed their capstones, they'll post it. And then once a new cohort completes and finishes, they'll replace them with the newest ones.
Got it. Okay.
Mhm.
And from this previous cohort, what are some like recommendations that the students have made about the program that the directors are planning to incorporate? I know obviously last year was really bizarre with COVID and all, but kind of like some trending improvements for the program.
Aline, do you have comments on that question?
Where the very nature of the field is, constant change and constant adaptation. Data science is such a hot field now that we basically adapt the program yearly. Every faculty member teaching here is looking at tweaking the material that we cover and asking whether certain tools that are used on homeworks, on projects are still the state of the art. As I was telling you, because we have this philosophy that tools should be secondary and concepts shouldn't, and that if you master the concepts, you can pick up any tool, the core of the courses remains the same. But the ancillary projects, homework, and so on, those have to adapt to whatever the tool of the day is. And here is where we typically get feedback from students. Oh, I would like to hear more about that. It's really cool and it's really interesting, and it's being used at my company. And this is the kind of feedback that we always welcome, and we try to react to it. What else? Yeah, regarding the formats, indeed. So anything that had to do with we don't like pandemic teaching is hopefully no longer going to apply next year. Having said that, of course, we offer this to professionals who oftentimes cannot participate in person. And we were from the very get-go set up with Zoom recordings of all the materials and electronic web boards to conduct discussions and so on. So to a certain extent, one could say that among all the departments and programs out there, we were least disrupted by the pandemic. However, there was an important component that we could not offer and that we're looking forward to offering again, which was the students could socialize and network with each other, and more importantly, with various guests that we bring about every week to give guest talks. Some of them are alumni of our program who are now in important positions in industry and are in the position of hiring. They also can share their experience on how their career took off after they finished the program here. And we would typically organize lunch with them, and students would hang out with them after this talk and exchange contact information. And all of this has been a little bit harder to arrange, and we couldn't do any in-person chatting and networking. So this will go back to normal, hopefully. That's the plan right now.
Yeah, we're planning to be back in person in the fall. Kind of just to elaborate what Aline has been saying, with the guest speakers that we brought, it was kind of both a blessing and a curse with the pandemic, because it was, as he said, it was really nice for the students to be able to have lunch with the guest speakers when they came on campus and, ask them questions. And as you said, some of them did have job opportunities that they offered. But what's been great about being remote is that we've been able to reach out to alums who are farther away, who couldn't be able to make it in person. So we had, people from up north, even on the East Coast, Zoom in and present to our students, which we would not have been able to do in person because, they're too far away. So that's kind of been nice to be able to reach, more alumni to come talk. So hopefully maybe we can kind of do a mix of in-person guest speakers and maybe remote ones in the future. And then on class improvements, I do want to say that we did have, one of our classes, DSE-230, who, which I think was mainly about Hadoop and Spark, and now we've changed that class, and now it's more broader and, teaches more on, I think I've been sitting in on the lecture, so I know some of the different, I think she taught DSEq and some of the other platforms. So I think that we have been kind of adapting the classes to, what's hot and fresh in the industry, I guess to say. So, yeah.
Excellent point, Yvonne, about a wider net for speakers and connections. Yes, and that's something that we should not give up completely.
Yes. Any other questions?
Yeah, maybe one more question about the deadline. I just want to confirm that I understand everything correctly. That by July 7th, we have to basically finish the whole application, all the recommendations letter and the personal statement and unofficial transcripts. And the official transcripts can be later if I get accepted. Is that correct?
Yeah, so July 7th is a deadline to submit your application. If you still have pending letters of recommendation, that's fine, but you do want to try to tell them to submit it as soon as possible, because we do forward the applications onto the admissions committee to review pretty quickly after that deadline. So you want to make sure that, your complete application is there for them to review. You don't want any missing letters of recommendation, but letters of recommendation can be still received after that deadline date. It is, I'm trying to, oh yeah, and then as you said, for the application, unofficial transcripts are fine. If you do get admitted into the program or get nominated for admissions, then we would contact you for official transcripts. So yeah, official transcripts don't need to be submitted or sent to the university until you've been admitted into the program.
Okay, and one more question. So I saw that 3 recommendation letters are advised, but 2 are kind of enough to write.
Yeah,
I mean, I found 2 people, but I'm kind of hesitant to ask another person to do it. I don't know how important it is to have 3 of them. Is it? Does it
No,
like?
no, don't worry. Look, rather than having a third that cannot say much other than, well, I knew him and we interacted very tangentially. It's better to have two that can speak a little bit deeper about your previous
Yeah,
work and
exactly.
qualification. So
Exactly,
worry.
that's what I found. Yeah, thank you.
So I heard some mentions of Python, and I was wondering, is that kind of the current like main language that gets used? Because I've also been seeing a lot of R be used for data science, as well as SQL. But that's part of the data bank part. But yeah, I think between R and Python, which would you say the program leans most into?
They are all used with slightly different targets. Python is the most general purpose one among them. So whenever you have to write some script, you will find that you have to pull data from this source and then ship it as inputs to this tool, and somehow you have to massage it in the process in order to make the output of one fit the input of the other. You will need some general purpose scripting language there. And yeah, right now the it language of as chosen by industry is Python for it. R is also used a lot, but you will find that you write not general purpose scripts, but various linear algebraic manipulations in it, and it's extremely powerful for that. But it will likely constitute just one module in the pipeline, and for any glue that you have to put in between these modules, it will likely reach for Python. There will also likely be some very customized module that you will have to implement, and then again, Python is going to be a natural choice. Some of the early stages of this pipeline, which will have to do with pulling data from large collection of data, which may very well be relational tables, will then also involve SQL. And then, as a matter of fact, I teach a course in this program teaching you how to exploit all the functionality of SQL engines so that you don't do the easy to implement but extremely inefficient data extraction that you could write in a Python program.
Makes sense. Yeah, that sounds great. And then I think just kind of a more like lighthearted question. You mentioned some of the capstone projects, and I was wondering, Yvonne, did you also have any favorite topics from capstone projects?
They're all kind of like, the topics are cool because I'm definitely not a data science person. So, once they get into all the technical stuff, they just lose me. But totally normally the topics are interesting to hear about. I think there was like a protein analysis, the Alzheimer's one's normally one that I've kind of seen multiple capstones do. The wildfire one is a big one because our Professor Altintas, the faculty director who covers the capstones, she actually is involved in that one and is one of the faculty advisors for that. So she's definitely pushed a lot of interest in the wildfire data analysis. I'm trying to remember. We just had the capstone presentations on Friday, and some of them are like, I can't remember, but yeah,
But
some
look,
good ones out there.
I'm not sure if you had a chance to click on that list, but there are quite a few projects that have to do with biomedical insights. The gut, the American gut project,
yeah.
the cardiac MRIs. Bonnie probably would like to do a project that has to do with data gleaned from psychiatric evaluations.
That's true.
I think there was a real estate one once, and I don't know if Ilke mentioned it in the info session, because I know, Leslie, you were a part of that one. She had said that there was one capstone one year where they did a Rachel bot, and
That's right.
yeah,
Friends. Yeah.
yes, from Friends, where they created kind of like a chat where you can talk to a bot that was pretending to be Rachel from Friends. And so that one was really interesting. So yeah, I remember her mentioning that one. I'm pretty sure I was there for that one too.
Yeah.
I think it was like a 2018 graduate team who did that one. So that one
Makes sense.
cool. So yeah,
Yeah.
there have been some interesting ones.
That's true. Gosh, that's so fun. I love how many things like data science can be used for. So a Rachel bot sounds fantastic to me. And then I was wondering, what does San Diego do about ensuring diversity in its programs and the admission group, or the groups that are admitted, and then like what the demographic, or I guess like the breakdowns of current classes look like? I'm curious about that.
So in the application itself, do they go through the UCSD application, Yvonne?
Yeah, it's a standard, it's the standard application through graduate division. But yeah, we had the extra 6 questions for our application specifically, but yeah, the rest of the application is pretty generic for all the applicants.
Now, let me point out that the UC system is extremely sensitive to issues of diversity. So our generic application contains quite a bit of input fields for exactly describing an applicant's contributions to diversity, and applicants' obstacles in pursuing higher education. And these are recorded there, and they're always taken into account. And they are the more compelling those descriptions are, the more points, as you may imagine, are attached to an application. So yeah, this is we're inheriting the UC infrastructure for it, which is very well developed in this sense.
Yeah, I really appreciated like the effort that San Diego has put into, and this application has put into like finding out these things and like pushing this in good ways. And then I think this is just a tiny question, but when I submitted for early application, my receipt said that I was at about 10 p.m. that I submitted it, but my receipt said that it was the next day, and I was wondering if for some reason the billing cycle was just on East Coast time versus West Coast time, and if I still got that in on time.
Yeah, it's technically on Central Time, I believe. That's what I've been told, but the time stamps have been a little off. I do know that your application was included because, I saw your name. So
awesome.
Yours is currently under review.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you so much. I think that's all the questions I got. Thank you, guys.
I have one also probably minor question about applying. So I started working for Dr. Palmer in August of 2019. So my 2-year mark for working would be again August of 2021. So by the time I apply for the cycle, I would not have worked for 2 years. I wasn't sure if submitting GRE scores would still be important.
So first of all, you will have hit the mark by the time you start the program, so you're fine. Don't worry about those 2 years. And as for GRE scores, those are not required, but they're recommended. They help make paint a better picture. In truth, I've run admissions also in the computer science department for the grad program, and GREs help when you don't have something more interesting to say, and they're not ever used to draw serious decisions on. They are just one of the many signals, and actually kind of a weak signal. They're typically not used to tie break between candidates to rank them in any way. It's just a matter of seeing whether there is any serious alarm flag there. But other than that, it's really a pass, no pass signal. So I would not worry if I submitted a score that I wish was a little bit higher. It doesn't really work that way. And every serious program will tell you the same thing.
Thank you.
So we have about 15 more minutes. Does anybody else have some questions? Aline, do you maybe have questions for prospective students?
Well, I'm actually always curious to see exactly where they come from and where they hope to go, and why they felt attracted to data science, especially if they don't come from a. Well, sometimes we get people who already have a computer science background, which one could think of as, you know, data science overlapping with data science significantly. But I'm always curious about the many people that we graduate from the program who come from very, very different backgrounds. So we've heard from Bonnie. She's basically in health and psychiatry, and this, whenever you think about analyzing the large data set that you have, what traditionally people have been doing in clinical studies, they can do better now. So I get that part, and there is a lot of that happening. But what about other folks here, Leslie and Robert and Eva's dad?
Yeah, my name
I
is
know.
Sergey. Sorry.
It's nice to meet you. That's all good. I know, so I've grown up in the Bay Area for most of my life, so I was surrounded by that tech stuff pretty constantly, but also I've always been in love with math and like every single science I could possibly get my hands on during my life in school, from like as soon as middle school happened on. So pretty quickly, like high school teachers, college teachers were saying like, what places can you find that overlap math and sciences? And data science was one of those, and I latched onto it quick, and especially with like how many applications there are. I love it. I think it's a great field, and I hope to pursue it.
Yeah, that sounds like a very natural way to organically grow into this. Anyone else would like to share? Yeah.
Yeah, for myself, yeah, I already mentioned that I'm inside analytics team, which consists of engineers and data scientists, and my position is more like supporting their environment and the tools, and supporting the data that they receive. So I look at them and I'm thinking about like my path forward, and also I took a few classes about data science and machine learning on one of the online platforms, and like I really loved it. So I decided that this is my path to go from now. Yeah, I just need to spend a few years studying, And yeah, I see myself like growing in my team to one of the data scientists there, especially since I already have experience with a lot of tools from the field.
That's yeah, very natural. We've had this class of applicants who are basically just trying to grow within their company, within their team, into a new position. So what about you, Robert? So far, no abrupt career changers. Everybody here has a very natural reason.
Oh, is it?
We can hear
my
you now.
turn?
You were
Is it my
muted.
turn? Nah, no, it's just say for me. I grew up in Poway, which is northwest of UCSD. I guess I consider data science and I guess my computer related education and careers as a natural outgrowth of my like of mathematics and video games. So just that I take my hobby and turn it into towards more professional energies. And I guess as part of that, I'm pursuing this. I decided to pursue this graduate program so that I could better develop my professional skills within this within an area that I've already started work on, both in my time with learning my bachelor's and in working in my company.
Yeah, makes sense. I can sympathize with. Is it Sergey? Was that?
Yes, Sergey.
Yeah, hi Sergey. I can sympathize with your feeling of seeing people do cool stuff with the data and wanting to somehow be involved. I'm a database researcher, so we were always in that position of preparing the data so that others do the cool stuff with it. And to a certain extent, the advent of data science as a field has vindicated us, at least in the sense that now everybody knows how important it is to get the data. But it is still them who do the spectacular stuff with the data. We're just managing it for them.
Yeah, what I thought was a pretty cool use of data was the painting called The Next Rembrandt. Have any of you seen that?
No. So learning from existing paintings and trying to generate a new one?
Yes, it's a AI designed painting based off of data of a specific painter, Rembrandt. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but they made a pretty convincing illustration.
That sounds really cool, and yeah, one can find it on YouTube if you Google. That's interesting. I'll check it out. And
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that would make you really want to get into AI and data science.
Yeah,
You could pull off something as cool as that.
and of course, this has an immediate application. Before we go into the AI that paints the new Rembrandt, it will help us distinguish among fakes and originals by Rembrandt. But that's interesting. I'll check it out. You may be aware that we have similar efforts here at UCSD. There is in the music department, there is computer generated music, and I've once listened to poetry generated by computer here on campus. So if you are interested in this kind of project, you should check out the existing departments in an attempt to customize the capstone. We are totally open to ideas that students come with, for the capstone project. Sometimes they are related to what they do at work. Sometimes it may be their passion, such as in this case. So keep an eye out. The DSE program does not happen in a vacuum. We have this really rich campus experience and research around us.
Interesting.
Okay, any last minute questions or last minute introductions?
No, I think I'm going to hop off. Thank you so much for hosting this again. This has been really helpful for me to get a
Great,
sense
thanks
of what
for
the program
joining.
is about. Yeah. And I'll be sending you any more follow-up questions if I do have any. But
Yes,
thank you so much for being
definitely.
so accessible. Yeah.
Great.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Have a good rest of your evening, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a great
Bye.
day.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Is this my impression? Do we have a new